today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. What is our last look at the upcoming Sheeraz Johnson versus Sheeraz Metcalf undisputed bantamweight title fight? A fight where both fighters will be making their MVP debut, as they were both signed by MVP. Both fighters are orthodox fighters. Both fighters are reigning world champions. Sheeraz Johnson is standing in for Dina Thorsland, who was originally scheduled to face Sheeraz, but she is with child, and thus she is on maternity leave. Sheeraz is standing in her place, and as a courtesy, Dina vacated the 2 alphabet titles she was holding in order to make this an undisputed title fight. That was generous. Not holding up history, not holding up the division.
Now it's for undisputed.
Sheeraz Johnson sports a professional record of 17 wins with 2 losses, no draws, 7 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 19 professional bouts, a 2-weight world champion. She held the IBF title at 122, and she currently holds the WBA title at 118.
Sheeraz sports a professional record of 14 wins with 4 losses, 1 draw, 2 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 19 professional bouts.
The stylistic matchup.
Sheeraz Metcalf is best described as an outside fighter, a long and limber outside fighter that likes to move around, use the jab, and stay behind it whilst on the go.
Sheeraz Johnson
is a bit more fluid with her style. She can be a boxer, she can be a puncher, she can be a pressure fighter. And that's what I think she's going to be for this fight. I think she's going to fight Sheeraz Metcalf the same way she fought Susie Ramadan, the same way that she fought Nina Hughes in her last 2 fights. I think that she's going to put pressure on Sheeraz, barrel forward, try to wear her out, wear her down, and show her age.
outwork her.
Blast in action in March of this year in what was the Nina Hughes rematch that Sheeraz Johnson won by way of a 7th round TKO stoppage.
Sheeraz was able to force Nina's corner to throw in the towel, having Nina on the receiving end of a lot of punches, and Nina was up there in age like Sheeraz is up there in age. For those not aware, Nina was around 40 years old, and so is Sheeraz Metcalf. That's important. Sheeraz Johnson is comparatively younger, 10 years younger at 30 years old, where Sheeraz is 40. Those 40-year-old legs, I don't trust them. I remember in Sheeraz Metcalf's last fight, the rematch with Miyo Yoshida, she was having trouble keeping Miyo off of her. Miyo Yoshida, who was regularly getting in with some clean, solid punches, even though Sheeraz was noticeably taller and longer than Miyo, and even though Sheeraz had beat her before, it would seem that Father Time had caught up to Sheeraz. It would seem that she was very fortunate to walk away with the decision in that fight, because most people scored it for Miyo Yoshida. And in this upcoming fight with Sheeraz Johnson, I think Sheeraz's luck has run out. I think Sheeraz Johnson can fight an even better version of the fight that Miyo Yoshida fought, which won't be painfully different from the fight that Sheeraz fought against Nina Hughes. She's going to barrel forward, throw punches and bunches, crash the pocket, wrestle in the clinch, make the older fighter feel like the older fighter. At which point I think it will be hard for Sheeraz Metcalf to keep her off and keep her out.
If you was struggling with Miyo, you're gonna struggle with Sheeraz.
Sheeraz Johnson on points is the logical way to go, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sheeraz Johnson goes ahead and stops Sheeraz Metcalf. I wouldn't be surprised if she TKOs Sheeraz like she just TKO'd Nina Hughes. She is fresher, she is younger, but it's not just youth. She's also a very experienced fighter in her own right, and more decorated than Sheeraz Metcalf. I reiterate, Sheeraz Johnson is a 2-weight world champion. She was a world champion at 122. She's a world champion now at 118, and I anticipate very soon, after this weekend, she will become the inaugural undisputed bantamweight champion. There's never been one before. This will be the first time.
As a result of Dina Thorsland vacating her 2 alphabet titles, so they would be on the line in this fight, she has effectively lost her spot on the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list per the rules that govern it, no fighter absent of a world title is allowed to maintain a rank. The list is only for winners and only for champions, and her being out for the foreseeable future because she is with child creates a vacancy that the winner of this fight will occupy. Whoever wins gets a spot on the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list, and I anticipate Shernika Johnson will be the winner this weekend, this Friday. I'm going with Shernika to beat Sheeraz Metcalf. Let's see if that's how it happens. On super middleweight news ahead of this weekend's New York show, Edgar Berlanga is looking for legendary status, envisions a run at heavyweight. Yeah, right.
Super middleweight contender Edgar Berlanga might be facing a former middleweight on Saturday in New York, but his grand plans include future fights at heavyweight. Berlanga, inspired by past greats, can see a significant rise in weight before his career is all said and done. I want to fight at heavyweight. 2 fights, Berlanga told Boxing Scene.
Where is all this coming from?
Edgar Berlanga's a big boy. I think the night of a fight, he rehydrates to at least 200 pounds, maybe a little more than that, and walking around in between fights.
Definitely.
He's been at super middleweight for a very long time, but at the same time, if he were to move up to light heavyweight, that involves certain peril, thereby explaining why he's still there and why he's still making 168. Asked whether or not he would go straight up or rise through the light heavyweight and cruiserweight divisions, he said, I don't know. It depends. But I want to fight at heavyweight for sure because I've got the power, and I think I'm going to be a lot stronger at heavyweight. It's for fun. It's something I want to accomplish. A lot of guys who fought at middleweight and super middleweight from back in the day fought at heavyweight. Roy Jones was fighting at heavyweight. He can do it. Why can't I do it?
Because you're not an Olympian. Because you're not Roy Jones.
Didn't James Toney do it too? So it's like, come on, bro. And these guys were at 160.
Every single one of those guys is a better fighter than you. Are you joking?
But there are some big heavyweights lurking today, and that gave Edgar Berlanga pause for thought. Ultimately, though, he's keen to try it. One must understand that heavyweights have gotten progressively bigger over time. The median height and the median weight for a heavyweight in, say, the Rocky Marciano era, for example, was a lot more modest and a lot more moderate than what you see today. That's the problem, though, Edgar admitted. In this generation, these guys are about 6'8", nearly 7 feet. Back in the day, they were 6'2". It was around my height. But I don't care. I hit hard.
This guy's gotta be joking.
Edgar Berlanga, who works with strength and conditioning coach Angel Memo Heredia, is 23-1 with 18 knockouts, with the lone loss coming to Saul Canelo Alvarez last year. And his ambitious goals go beyond a couple of fights at heavyweight, just becoming a legend, Berlanga said. I want my name to reign in boxing forever. I want people to talk about me and always talk about Berlanga. You know Berlanga, Felix Trinidad, Miguel Cotto, these guys, Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson, Andre Ward. I want my name to be in that mix. That is my goal.
That is a pipe dream.
That is not going to happen. There is a reason that Edgar Berlanga doesn't have the Puerto Rican boxing fans on his side the way that Cotto did and Trinidad did. Those were legendary fighters. Edgar is more like a shart that you thought was a fart. So maybe to be in this profession, you have to be a bit delusional. You have to be out of touch with reality in order to make things a reality. I've heard that said before, but Edgar is way off. He doesn't stand a chance as a heavyweight. He barely stands a chance as a super middle. As strategic as he has been in his super middleweight campaign, there is absolutely nothing to suggest that he could hack it as a heavyweight.
No credibility, no evidence.
Nothing to support that notion. What Edgar Berlanga resembles in saying this is a 12-year-old shooting off at the mouth and talking just because he's got one. Even if he wins this weekend, even if he beats Hamza Sheeraz, and I'm not even sure he's going to, that doesn't mean he can make it as a heavyweight.
Just saying stupid shit for the sake of saying stupid shit.
And so he has the same strength and conditioning coach as David Benavidez, who I suspect is still providing fighters with performance-enhancing drugs and banned substances. What could he be providing for Edgar? Likely a diuretic, a weight-cutting agent, something that allows him to keep making 168, because like I said, he's a big boy.
I think everybody's on something.
Want to make that clear. I think everybody at the highest levels of the sport is doping. your favorite fighter, my favorite fighter,
Everybody.
so when you look at it through that lens, it all depends on what specifically does a fighter need. And what a fighter like Edgar might need is something to allow him to cut weight safely to keep making 168 because he really can't hack it at 175.
He already had the biggest fight that he could have at 168 in Canelo Alvarez. So what the hell else could be keeping him there?
He's fighting Hamza Sheeraz this weekend. It's a bit of a toss-up, that fight, because while I think that Hamza is a better boxer fundamentally than Edgar Berlanga, I don't trust his chin.
So you trust Edgar's power?
I don't really trust that either. It's just that I don't think you have to be the most devastating puncher in the world to hurt Hamza Sheeraz, who will be moving up in weight and breaking in a new trainer.
It's intriguing.
Hamza Sheeraz, 26 years old, to Edgar Berlanga, who's 28. Hamza stands in at about 6'3" to Edgar, who stands in at about 6'1". We know that His Excellency has a rooting interest in Hamza Sheeraz and is hoping for a Hamza Sheeraz win.
You already said as much.
Turkey, I'm hands up. I'm sorry, but your boy gotta go, man. Super explosive. IQ, great legs, great jab, great head movement. He not gonna stand a chance, bro. I'm telling you. There's levels to this shit.
He's got a sort of copy and paste personality, Edgar Berlanga, and he says a lot of copy and paste things.
Levels to this shit.
I haven't heard that one before. It's levels to it. Level of cringe I get hearing this guy talk, trying very hard not to throw up in my own mouth.
Levels to this shit.
Hamza Sheeraz's win over a then unbeaten Ammo Williams is more impressive to me than any win that Edgar has over anyone, and his claim to fame is seemingly a glorified loss to Canelo Alvarez. He's very happy with himself that he didn't get knocked out. That seems to be it.
Tough fight to call.
It's a little hard to trust Hamza to get the job done. It's hard to trust myself to make the right pick because I really don't like Edgar Berlanga. He's an idiot.
I have a rooting interest against Edgar Berlanga.
So I suppose in that situation, the most that I can be is honest. I'm gonna go with Hamza Sheeraz. I am hoping that Hamza, via his height, his length, his fundamentals, and his corner, can find the victory on Saturday. I'm gonna go with Hamza.
Not gonna straddle the fence. I'm not gonna be a little bitch about it. I'm gonna go with Hamza Sheeraz to win the fight by hook or by crook.
In men's heavyweight news, IBA President Umar Kremlev extends offer of farewell bout to most talented heavyweight Tyson Fury. Fury, 36, and Kremlev were together in Istanbul, Turkey last week at the IBA Golden Era event, and Fury spoke about a possible return to the ring, ending his self-imposed exile following the only 2 losses of his career, both against Alexander Usyk. Fury has long been linked to a bout with his compatriot Anthony Joshua, and last week specifically called out Usyk for a 3rd fight.
You already gave us one pointless trilogy with Derek Chisora, Tyson. We don't need another one with Usyk. He's 2-0.
We would love to make a professional fight for you, Fury, said Umar Kremlev. A farewell bout as the king of boxing. One final beautiful fight to say farewell. You started your career with the IBA, so you have to complete your career with the IBA. Kremlev also extended an invitation to Fury to visit Moscow. We would love to bring Tyson Fury to Moscow, said Kremlev.
Russian women are hot.
Why is Umar Kremlev doing this, and why is the IBA doing this? Well, I told you. The IBA used to oversee all of the amateur bouts in amateur boxing, but when they were stripped of recognition by the IOC, they basically became a promotional outfit of sorts, staging their own professional cards and boxing matches in Russia.
And because they are not likely to regain recognition by the IOC since World Boxing is now operating in their place, they're a promotional outfit now, and they need big names to get the outfit off the ground. Enter Tyson Fury.
Just give me a date and you can bring your team and your family with you. We will send a jet to pick you up and bring you. We do not have bears walking around in Moscow, despite people's misconceptions. So please bring your family and your team. There were plenty of big names at the Turkey event, including Farrell Crotch, Terrence Crayford, David Hay, Jarrell Miller, and Shannon Briggs. We are happy to see you here supporting and promoting boxing, Kremlev told Fury. Fury's last loss came in December to Usyk in Saudi and was paid for by Riyadh season boss Turki El Sheikh. That event that the IBA held in Istanbul could be interpreted as a launch of sorts.
They've already done a couple of cards all on their own, the IBA, professional boxing matches.
But when you make the effort to invite this many somebodies to one of your events, it can be interpreted as a launch. Fury's manager, Spencer Brown, joined the former heavyweight champion in Turkey with the IBA. "We would love to go to Moscow. Tyson has always wanted to go," said Brown.
Russian hookers.
Of the IBA Golden Era showpiece, Fury said, "It's a big event. When you see all of these fighters and special people, it attracts a lot of eyes to boxing, and boxing brings people together. The story is not ended yet," Brown told Kremlev. "Our story has not ended yet. So you, Kremlev, are coming in at the end of the story, but it hasn't ended. And we would love to have you on board. So I have joined you on time," Kremlev replied, adding, "I have big respect for those who invest their soul and their talent into their sport. And I believe that in the modern world, in the current times, out of all the heavyweight categories, Tyson is the most talented." Fury has 34 wins, 24 stoppages, against 2 losses and a draw, and posts training and running videos almost daily on his social media accounts. In spite of this generous invitation, I do not actually expect Tyson Fury to take up Umar on his offer, though I do expect him to come back, and I do expect him to fight.
I don't expect him to fight in Russia.
As well financed and organized as the IBA is, I don't actually expect Tyson Fury to fight there. I expect him to have a little tune-up fight, a little gimme fight, en route to what could be an Anthony Joshua fight, because if he's back for anybody, I do think he's back for that guy. That fight still generates a lot of money.
Tyson knows that.
I believe that we could see the both of those fighters in separate fights, respectively, in the buildup of what will be their fight next year.
And an Usyk trilogy?
Pointless, and there's no need for it. I don't know that it happens, because very recently it was announced that Alex Krassyuk has parted ways with Usyk amicably, which could herald Usyk's retirement after the Dubois rematch.
Otherwise, why would Alex leave?
And why would Usyk fight Fury for a third time? For what?
I don't know that happens, but a Joshua fight might. For Tyson Fury, I think that's the one that we might get.